Hey Louise, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Kathy?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy that you're on, and I love talking about social media. I love talking about AI and all the things that are going on in the world. So, why don't you tell the listeners here a little bit about your backstory?
Hmm. So my backstory started like a long time ago. Actually, one of the most important things in my story, oh God, I'm going around in circles here now, is people say to me, "How did you get into social media?" You know, with that kind of tilted head. How did you get into social media? And then I say, well, actually, what I do is digital marketing, and social media is just the channel. So,
Mm.
I got into it. Like I studied marketing in college. I specialized in service marketing. It was just something I loved from day one. And then I suppose I had something very fortunate. One of my first jobs as a graduate, I worked in a company called EDI Factory. Now, EDI stands for Electronic Data Interchange. And I was
Ah.
so naive and green as a young graduate. I thought I was going to be walking into a factory and they were going to be making this product in a box called EDI. I was going to be helping market it. And guess what? How naive was I? I was disappointed when I realized there wasn't a factory, and in fact, it was a software company. Imagine, because it was nearly before like the internet. Like this is before like the internet and e-commerce and e-business. So I was working in that area way before it was even a thing. And it wasn't, it wasn't even the thing to be in. Like it was a very male orientated industry.
Mhm.
As a young graduate, it was the best training I ever had because I had to learn how to stand on my own 2 feet and how to be respected and how to to be work in a room full of men and be their equal. Um,
Yeah.
and so a combination of having the marketing skills with really learning all about, as we used to call the paperless office, e-commerce, e-business,
Oh, yeah.
it gave me that foundation, which is what I use today. So, and I started my business because I was made redundant on my birthday, right after having come back from just after having my twins. I was just back from maternity leave.
What? So you had twins on your birthday. Okay. Well, hold on one sec. Let's catch up with that in a minute. But one thing that I have to say is you're one of the very first people that actually went to school for something that she's doing right now, you know. although I
Well,
did although I did study communications, so I guess I am in communications. But yeah, the good for you. You kept on that through path, right? Okay, so continue on. So you got fired right after you had twins on your birthday or the day before?
no, so what happened was I had the twins. I came back from maternity leave, and then it was the morning of my birthday, and that's back, like right back in 2009. So Ireland, I live in Ireland, and at that time, Ireland was in the biggest economic recession it had ever known. Like the place was like it was so bad. And I remember getting invited into the boardroom on the morning of my birthday. And you know that feeling of I was a bit nervous and excited, going, oh, they're going to be singing me happy birthday, and it's going to be embarrassing. And but I was just kind of getting over it. But I walked in and there was no cake and there was no candles. It was just, we're really sorry. Their business was falling apart because the economy was falling apart. And they said, we're really sorry, but we just don't have your job is gone. So I remember, walking down the 4 flights of stairs out to the pavement, and I remember thinking, "Oh my goodness, it is the biggest economic recession that the country has ever known. Like, where am I going to get another job?" And I remember thinking at the time that the creche bill for the twins was more expensive than the mortgage. And I remember thinking, what am I going to do? And then it suddenly occurred to me that I had always wanted to start my own business. And if you can think about it, back in 2009, like I was a marketer who understood digital marketing. And so I just thought,
Yeah.
a fire lit within me. And I thought, because I have no choice, I have to do this and I have to make it work. And then I remember getting excited about it. And, I started my own business, and, I've had various iterations of the business over the years. But in fact, when I look back, that being made redundant on my birthday was probably the best gift that I ever received, even though it didn't feel like it at the time.
Right, because it's scary. And you have twins. And so then you decided that you'll be a work at home mom and launch, right? So you could say spend time, or did you get an office? How did that work?
Yeah, so I couldn't do anything with the twins at home because they were just it was too difficult. So I still kept them in the crash, but I kept them in for I think 3 days a week. So I had 3 days that I could start to run my
Ah,
business. Yeah.
launch 3 days a week. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so it was actually really good. I was really fortunate. I won contracts early on. So I won a big contract with the Irish Tourism Board. So I worked with with all their their hotels and adventure centres and destination groups from like up and down the western seaboard of Ireland. So I worked for them solidly for 3 years on their e-marketing panel. I absolutely loved it. And then after that, I started doing a lot of training and coaching in the whole area of social media. And
Mhm.
then I suppose with COVID, we all moved online. And then I found that I didn't have to be training or coaching people nearby, that I could train and coach people anywhere in the
All
world.
around the world. Yeah.
So my coaching business would be, I suppose 50% would be kind of US, Canada, and then the other 50 would be Ireland, UK. So there's a really good mix. And I love the mix of the nationalities in my coaching program because I find like I'm going to generalize here, but I find the Americans are so open and they'll always come up with the ideas, and then everybody else will kind of go, yeah, 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 and they'll go with it as well. So yeah, I love coaching. I love working with businesses. I love helping businesses. And so now I have an agency, so an agency where people outsource to us, and then I have my academy where we coach. And then I have my new digital marketing platform, Sell on Social as well. So yeah, it's been a great journey. I've enjoyed every single minute of it. So yeah.
Yeah, and you're really good at coaching, and it shows through the passion that you have with what you do. Absolutely, and your new platform is pretty amazing. So, why don't you talk about that a little bit? Because there's so many different ways for you listening, so many different ways that you can work with Louise. But let's talk about the platform that she's putting together, has created. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so I love technology. Okay, I think you probably got that from me by now. Like I just really love technology. I love new things. I love creating. I love kind of coming up with my own ideas. So about 2 years ago, like everybody else, I got introduced to AI, ChatGPT and Gemini and all the rest of them. And I just absolutely found it phenomenal. Like I found that we could get through so much more work in the day and that the work would be of a really high quality standard. But what I also noticed was that people were using AI, but they were using it in a way that created generic noise.
Hmm.
So you could go on social media and you can spot the posts that are created by, an AI tool that doesn't have the background information on the business. So what I decided to develop, and the same time I have my coaching program. So I have an 8 week coaching program where I bring people through a very structured program, and I know that by the end of the program they are able to create a social selling system. They're able to use social media effectively. They're able to find new customers. It works. So what I decided to do was to take the blueprint of my coaching program and to turn it into an AI powered digital marketing platform, which would make it more accessible. Yes, it makes it more accessible. It means that, people, if they still want the coaching, they can absolutely come and work with me. But if they want a tool which is self-led, which works, which uses AI, but uses AI in a way that's going to mirror your voice and mirror your tone, and it's going to get you better results. Because what I also found, Kathy, is that I would work with people and I would help them identify their core messages and how to stand out. And then I'd see their content on social media and I'd be like, what happened to the work we did? What about this and what about the other? So my platform never forgets your core messages, never forgets who your ideal customer is. So when you go to write a 6 email sequence or a sales page or an opt-in page or a social media post or a lead generation system, it knows all about you and it's going to create something which is for you.
Beautiful. Everybody needs this. It's because what I find with AI is there's so many options, and it's hard to stay linear. And I think with your program, it does keep me focused and on the path of being linear to keep the messaging accurate. Because I mean, you could go off. I've been off in the ether so many times with AI. It's like, oh, and here and here and here, and
Mhm.
the squirrel chaser that I used to be. So I'm reformed. So I think that it's important that we stay linear, and the program is definitely robust. Tell me about so you work for the tourism board in Ireland. I was in the tourism industry myself as a travel writer. Tell me about that gig. What did that entail? And that was one of your first big contracts, right?
Yeah, it was one of my first big contracts. So, what did that entail? So, at that time, again, we're going back a good few years now. So, at the time, a lot of the businesses they were trying to create an online strategy, and they were integrating it with their offline strategy. So, what I used to do is it's like, do you know, Kathy, it's not a million miles away from what I do now. It's like, because I'm going to go back and say it again, social media marketing is not about social media, it's about marketing. And so
Right.
that's why when I say at the beginning of my story that I studied marketing because marketing is at the foundation of everything that we do. So I
Mhm.
would go into, it could be a five-star hotel, it could be a destination marketing group, it could be like an activity center, and I would look at that foundational messaging. So what are you saying? What makes you different? What makes you unique? How can you stand out? How's your offering different? What should you be saying across your social media, your website? What should be saying on your emails? And how can you integrate that with what you're saying offline as well? And so, yeah, I basically looked at their strategies, and I would help them to create an overarching strategy which combined their offline, and it was all on message. So, yeah, and so I think that doesn't change.
Right, right. It's the same thing, right? Yeah.
Like, I will say if you're interested in learning about the newest feature on whatever social media channel you're into, don't come to me because that I'm not interested in like this feature and that feature because it's not going to change the outcome. What will change the outcome is having your traditional marketing foundations in place. That's what will have an impact, and that's what will get you customers and sales and leads.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that. So, for someone who's starting out, well, let's do it a twofold. So, well, I like to give advice to all the listeners. So, there's twofold listeners here. I know some who are just kind of launching and trying to figure out their brand, and then we have others who have figured out their brand, but maybe they might have gone away from their path. What advice would you give? Let's start with the newbie, someone who really is just launching and finding her way.
Yeah, so actually, people that come into my coaching program, Kathy, can be just like you've described. So you can have people that are at the starting point, and then you can have other people who have been in business for a while. But as you said, I think every 12 to 18 months in your business, you need to reset
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes you're changing, your customers changing, the world is changing, the social media channels are changing, the digital marketing, the way we connect is changing. So if you had a strategy that was in place that was working perfectly 2 years ago, chances are you need to reset it again now anyway. And
Yeah.
so I bring people through the same process, whether they're resetting or whether they're starting from the beginning. It's the same process that we go through. And so what I say to people is the first thing you need to do is to be super clear on what your offer is. So what's your core offer? What's the main thing that you want to sell? And you need to be able to define what you're selling, not from how you deliver it, but from how the benefit that your ideal customer is going to get. So what's that transformation that you can promise your ideal customer? What success can you guarantee them? So if you can say to them, if you work with me in 3 months' time, you are going to be more organized, you're going to save yourself a day a week, you're going to do, what is that transformation that you can guarantee? So in order to find that transformation, we go through a number of different steps. And this is the steps that if you see my online platform, which I know you're using, the first thing we do is we go through like how you're unique, how you're different, because if you're going to use social media or digital, like your website or your email or even on a podcast, you have to be able to stand out from everybody else. So you as a unique individual, you're unique and you've had a unique story and a unique journey to get you here. And you got to use that to connect with people. So that's going to help them connect with you. So step one is we figure all that out. And that's going to help you with your positioning, with your core messages, everything. The second step we do is we then define who your ideal customer is. But we don't just go to ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude and say, here, create a persona for me based on this person. We need to go a little bit deeper than that. And we need to find out, their hopes, dreams, desires, what's keeping them awake at night, like what are they worried about? What are their triggers? All of those things. And when we have that information, then we can create our persona. And then once we know how we're different, who our ideal customers, then we define our core offer. And that then is your foundation. And from there, once you know what your core offer is, from there, you build your lead generation systems, you build your social media content, you build your emails, you build your, all of that. But if you don't have the foundations in place, so if it's a case that you haven't got that clarity on your core offer, it means that your social media content is always just going to be wishy-washy. Because it's
And
just going to be ticking a box, but it's not going to be actually doing anything for you.
right, right. And people are like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But they're not saying, oh, that's me. Right. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh, she's talking to me. How does she know that about me?
Oh my
Right.
God. They need to be nodding their heads going, gosh, yeah, that's,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's watching over my shoulder. How does she know I'm thinking that?
Exactly. But
Yeah.
so these are the things which help us build a connection with people. And another thing to say, which is very important as well, we market online, but we sell offline. So
Mhm.
social media is only ever going to be the place where you find the leads, but you need to move people from the social media to a conversation, especially if you're selling high ticket items.
Absolutely. And in order to do that, you have to be compelling and they have to want to speak with you, right?
Exactly. And sometimes you got to think of it like building a relationship with somebody. Like if you go on to somebody into the DMs that doesn't know you and you say, "Hey, do you want to jump on a call?" They're just going to ignore you.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to like build a relationship. So I always say when you will go into if you go into a networking event in person,
Mm-hmm.
you don't rock up to somebody and start trying to sell to them straight away. You rock up and you have a conversation and you get to know each other. And after you get to know each other, after a while, it may turn to business to conversation. And then it may turn to, well, maybe I can help you with that. And then it may turn to a sales call. So
Mm-hmm.
I will say, like, if you wouldn't say it to somebody with a cup of coffee in your hand at a networking event, don't write it on social media.
And I think people skip that step all the time because they just want to get to that. And
Sell, sell, sell.
they want to
I
get
think,
to that.
yeah, I think they see social media as a place where they can sell, but really, social media is a place where you can connect, build a
Mhm.
rapport with someone, build a relationship with someone. And if through that relationship building that they understand that you get them their problems and that you can help them and that, it's possible, then they're more likely to move forward with you.
And that leads to the question of what social media channels? How many should you be on? Should you be on everything? Should you go wide? Should you go deep? What's your take on that, Louise? I know that's what people are thinking right now. Well, where should
Yes.
I be?
Yeah, so you should be where your customer's hanging out.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And if you're a small business owner or you're, a medium-sized business owner, um, I'm going to say this is what I say to all my clients, and it works perfectly well. The challenge is creating the content. After that, you can put the content anywhere you want. So if you're B2B and you need to be on LinkedIn, then put your content out on LinkedIn and put your efforts into engaging with people on LinkedIn. But I
Mm-hmm.
would repurpose that content, 100% repurpose that content and put it on my Facebook professional profile as well.
Mm-hmm.
You have a link, if you have Instagram and you want to, you can put it there too.
Mm-hmm.
So you might have one channel, which is your primary channel where you put a lot of time and effort in. but then you can absolutely repurpose your content in other channels as well. So say, for example, myself, my primary channel is LinkedIn. I absolutely love it. I hang out more there than I do anywhere else.
Mhm.
I repurpose, so I still put my posts out on my Facebook professional profile and my Facebook business page and my Instagram account. And then if I'm doing reels, or sorry, if I'm doing videos, I'll put them out on my TikTok and my YouTube as well. One piece of content going multiple places. And then when I'm running a promotion, I will run paid ads on Meta, Facebook and Instagram. So Meta on Facebook and Instagram being the Meta platform. And that works really well for me in terms of lead generation. I don't run paid ads on LinkedIn because I find they're too expensive, and I find that I put my money on LinkedIn into having the premium LinkedIn premium, and that is more effective for me. So,
Mhm.
so, so,
Mhm.
so when it comes to what channel you should be on, it is really about where your client is and where they're hanging out. So somebody may be hanging out on LinkedIn in their professional capacity. That does not mean that they will not see your content on Facebook or Instagram and respond to it. So if you're, let's say you're a nutrition, so I have people in my program who are nutritional coaches, or I have other people who would be interior designers. So there you need to be more on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, I would say. If you're a life coach, again, Instagram, Facebook, but equally like LinkedIn. So it just really depends. If you're like we worked with a kitchen manufacturer who we did amazing campaigns for on Facebook and Instagram, but still repurposed some of his content onto LinkedIn because equally there are people there and they tend to have a higher spending power. So yeah, so when it comes to the channels, it's all about your ideal customer and it's all about being clever with your content, creating
Mhm.
content which is impactful and which will work across multiple platforms.
Mhm. Agreed, agreed. I just find that it's difficult to follow all of them. So I agree with you, choose one and focus on that, but try to keep your finger on the others. How do you feel about Pinterest? Because I'll tell you what, on my Pinterest channel, I have like 6,000 followers with zero effort.
Yeah, so Pinterest like so for some of our clients, Pinterest is hugely important. So anybody who's working with something visual,
Mhm.
so let's say like again the kitchen manufacturer, or it could even be like we work with hotels as well. Anything
Mhm.
that's visual and that you can optimize those images, and so that it helps them get found. Absolutely, Pinterest is another one, and
Interesting.
it's yeah, it's a fairly good one as well because you can work on it and just create lots of content at the one time. So it works
Mhm.
really well.
Mhm. Yeah, it's very interesting. There's so many channels and so many ways to be found. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
But I agree. Once you have the messaging, then it's much easier. You just repurpose it. So, okay, I have to ask you. I mean, you've been in business for a long time. You're very organized. What's your favorite organizing hack? What do you use every day that works for you?
I actually I love writing things down.
Ah,
Yeah, so I would say I think I have a diary, so I write everything. And even though I have it on my on an electronic diary as well, I still write
mhm.
everything down in my diary. And I have my diary here, but I have them for years. Like I might have 5 or 6 years of diaries behind me. And if you said to me, Louise, such and such, and I'll write notes and I'll write numbers and details. And if you say to me, oh, such I need a contact, and I'll be like, I can remember back to where it was in that year, and I'll find it. Yeah, I
Amazing.
find, yeah, I find that works really well. I've done it for years, and I also I have a diary, and then I have a second book beside me for writing even more notes. So, and I'll just
Uh-huh.
date everything. Yeah. So even though I'm hugely into online and hugely into digital, I still like having that. And people are like, how are you still with the diary in 2026? Like it.
Well, writing, I mean, you're also an author, and as am I. And, writing the tactile, I mean, I always have a pen in my hand as well. The tactile effort of writing things down solidifies things in my brain, even though I might not ever look back at them like you might. It just helps me kind of pop it into my brain further. But, I find the hybrid between digital and paper right now a challenge for many people. But I know that, when you say going back in your diary, I can remember I won't remember what year like you will or anything like that, but I will remember where it is on the page. I'm like, oh yeah, I took that on the top left is where I wrote that note. But because I don't have the date in my brain like you do, it's just useless information. Unless I only have a month on a pad or something.
Yeah, no, but I know exactly what you're saying because like that I can visualize where it is on the page or how I wrote it or what and I'll be
Yeah.
like, no, it's all I know, yeah. So yeah,
That's pretty
the
interesting.
brain is a funny thing.
Isn't it though? Isn't it? I tell you what. So if you could look back, I mean, you're one of the few, like I said earlier, that actually knew what she wanted to do when she grew up. But if you had to tell your 18-year-old self something, what kind of advice would you give her?
Um,
Back.
like I think when I went in to study marketing, I don't think I really knew what I wanted to do. I knew what I knew I didn't want to do. What advice would I give myself to an 18-year-old's self? I think in business, the advice that I have always come up with is learn how to say no earlier.
Mm,
You
that's
know,
a good one.
yeah, I think sometimes um like my default is that I do want to help people. It's like so I might sometimes get caught up in stuff that I don't need to be. So learning
Mhm.
how to say no earlier, I think when you start out in business, so when I started out in business, because I was starting from a place of fear and excitement, but fear because I had to pay bills and I had twins and I had responsibilities. And so probably took projects on that weren't, shouldn't have been where I was focusing because it made me go in too many different directions. So I learned that
Mhm.
over the years, so we used to do like much more like broader digital marketing, whereas now, we're much more focused. So
Mhm.
yeah, so learning to say no and learning to prioritize would be what I would say to my 18-year-old self. And maybe 18, I would probably say maybe be a bit more serious at college.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, colleges are fun, you know. I'm with you on that. Yeah, I think that, and I learned that earlier on. I think that the highest sign of professionalism is knowing when to say no and
Mhm.
saying no.
Mhm.
So and when we're launching, I agree. Half the time it's like, yeah, I'll take that job because I really need that job, and then it's just a mess. So follow your instincts, and that's really good advice for sure. Now, I
Mm.
know that you have something that you're going to offer the audience here. What is it that we're going to talk about that you'd like to gift them or talk to them about?
Yeah, so I have a free masterclass coming up, and
Ooh.
we're going to drop the link in the show notes. So the masterclass will be all about AI powered social selling. So if you're in business, if you feel that you're either you don't have the confidence to show up at all on social media, or if you feel that you're on social media and your efforts just aren't leading to sales or leads, then this webinar is all about that. So it's how do you use social media to generate real sales and leads for your business, and how do you use AI to get you there faster and with more impact.
Fantastic. Everybody needs to jump into this masterclass because it's really good and it's loaded with a lot of tips and tricks. And you're going to be amazed at how much content you can put out that's good. That's good content. When you
Impactful, that's my word.
impact Yeah, impactful content that will get people to actually say, oh, she knows what I'm thinking right now. That's the important thing right there. So that's fantastic. I can't wait for it. And everybody definitely check the link in the show notes, sign up for it, set aside the time right now to make sure that you're free on the day that she's doing it. So, yeah. It'll be very soon. So please check the link and set aside that time because you will not regret it. We all need to know more AI and we all need to know how to market better. I mean, it's an ongoing process. So please check that link for sure. Now, is there anything, Louise, that we should have talked about that was on your mind that you wanted to discuss? What have I missed?
No, I don't think you've missed anything. Yeah, I loved all your questions. Thank you. Such a great interview. So thank you, Kathy.
Oh yeah, it's fun. It's fun. You're my girlfriend. We just have girlfriend chit chats, and I respect what you do, and I highly recommend that everyone out there just check out Louise, make friends with her, follow her, watch what she's doing. Because as you know, she's been doing this for quite a long time. She's a pro in her field. So I really appreciate you being on the podcast, Louise. It's just a pleasure. And hey, you guys, if you're listening and you love it, please give me a thumbs up. Most importantly, give me a comment. Comments are really, really good for my podcast. Very much appreciate it. And if you have someone that you feel this would benefit, please forward it to them with love, as a little love note from you to them, and say, hey, you need to listen to this lady because she knows what she's talking about marketing. So please share the love, share the podcast, give me a thumbs up. And until next time, we will see you guys then. Hey, thanks for listening to this podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you want to hear more, feel free to subscribe on the platform of your choice. Also, if you feel so inclined, I would truly appreciate a good rating from you to me. Have a stellar day.